as we were talking about, this is a flour, like flour, but like flour with like protein content like 11%, and then the ash, right? Ash is like as low as possible, so that you don't affect the color in the noodles. And we have water, the salt, and kansi here. And so these are the liquid ingredients, and that's solid ingredients. Okay, so let's get started. So yeah, so the mixer, this is a 10 kilogram mixer, and so that means that you can mix up to 10 kilograms of solid ingredients, up to, right, maximum. And on top of it, you're adding liquid, right? On top of it, you're adding liquid. So a maximum you can make about up to like 14 kilograms of dough at a time. And yeah, so you need to dissolve all the country and salt, right, in the water, and make this kind of solution, and add it to the flour, the dough, right? Yeah, so make sure that all the salt and country are dissolved in the water, right, before you add it. And all right, so she's setting the timer, and adding water, right? And then directly onto the mixer lid. So mixer lid has this holes, right? Holes, and then so this water will drip through the holes, and then add it to the flour little by little. For that's for good hydration. And yeah, of course, like maybe like made the dough like in dance, right? So that we can move to next process. And can you guys notice that like kind of yellow, how yellow that like that dough is, right? Before, right, it's the same, exact same recipe, and then like before it was like, you know, completely white, right? Completely white, like when it was like just for flour, but now it's like kind of well, kind of pale yellow, right? Looking more like ramen noodles. It's because of the effect of the kansi, especially the potassium carbonate, that like potassium carbonate, sodium carbonate, and then potassium carbonate like did a job of like kind of coloring the um, dough into the yellow color. And so what we're doing now is that like we are just making the sheet of dough, right? Sheet of dough. So making this sheet, feeding the dough into the roller, and so the dough is coming out, right, to the sheet shaped dough. And so you're basically making a sheet of dough, and that's how we start. And so before it was like kind of crumbles of like dough, right? And then now it's kind of being turned into a sheet, dough sheet, right? And then and by looking at the kind of size of the dough, right, you can pretty much tell like how much, I mean, what the hydration ratio is. And hydration ratio is basically like you can calculate it by dividing the amount of like solid by the amount of like liquid. Like, but like we always use weight, so like grams, like pounds. Um, so we need to like we don't use like units of measurement like liters or anything. We always go by weight. Okay, um, 'cause it's more precise. And so uh, yeah, so like dividing, for example, like if this is 2 kilograms of solid ingredients, right? And then if we add 1 kilogram, 1 kilograms. No, sorry, 2 kilograms of like, I'm sorry, like so like you need to like divide liquid ingredients right amount by solid ingredients amount. So yeah, so if it's like 1 kilo, then 2 kilos, like, so that's 50% hydration. And typically, like we are talking about, like shoyu ramen noodles, they're typically in the kind of um, high, like mid hydration, like medium range. So like 30, we're talking about like 30% to like maybe 37, 8, around there. And so we now have like this sheet of dough that's like really still rough, meaning like it's fragile, right? It's weak, and so we want to have, you know, kind of firmer, like noodle texture, like has like a lot of bite, right? And so we're just going to do the separate it and combining them, like do combining, like so separating like one was one, right? But like separating on two and combining them through the roller, and so that this way, kind of working the dough, right? Working the dough, just like, yeah, just like working out, like kind of building a muscle. So we're like trying to build the well, gluten structure inside the dough, and so that's like what this process is doing. And in the mixer side, right? So that was 4 minutes, right? That was 4 minutes, and then uh, usually like for good hydration, we just do a 4 minutes right first, and then do the rest of the minutes like after we put the rest of the water. So it was just about like 2/3 of water or so. She first put in, and then we'll mix it for 4 minutes, and then kind of clean the inside right inside the mixer. There are some parts that are like wetter than the other parts, so like kind of like mix them up, and then um, yeah, do the rest of the minutes, and then add the rest of water, and do it for 6 more minutes. And total number of minutes, total number like time that we do is 10 minutes for this dough. And so basically, hydration determines the like kind of mixing time as well. Basic rule is, the well, the lower the hydration, the less hydration, the longer the mixing time. And so now she's doing like another round of like combining process. So we usually do it like 1 to 2 times depending on what kind of noodles we're making. And so this is a second combining process. And yeah, from this point on, like we want to start like dusting the dough, and to of course like keep dough from sticking. And yeah, so depending on hydration level, like hydration ratio, you may want to dust more or less, right? Um, this is a medium hydration ratio noodles, so we don't have to dust as much as like high hydration ratio noodles, like more like wetter noodles, prone to sticking more. And yeah, so just making sure that like the dough is like kind of double, like kind of evenly, right? So that like all that area of like dough sheet is like kind of well evenly compounded, so that like that kind of texture, right, is gonna be like the same throughout the noodles. So, so after combining process, like all we have to do is just thin it, right? Thin it to the final thickness, final thickness would be, like depends on your like, yeah, the cutter you use, or yeah, basically, that thickness that you want, right? So that really, yeah, exactly like we are talking about, like the noodle size and the shape. It's like if you're making flat noodles or like kind of square shaped noodles, or so it really depends on the kind of noodle you're making. So so the well, the reason like she's doing another round of sheeting is that like we want to, well, retain the noodle texture, right? We don't want to like thin it, drastically thin it, because that would like damage like the noodle texture that we were building, we built, right? So through the combining process, so that's why we do it like kind of gradually, so thin it like gradually, but like usually do like by uh, yeah, apply this rule like 30% reduction rate, and uh, yeah, so like each round of like sheeting, like we reduce that like thickness by 30% approximately. Okay, 1.5. Okay, so let's measure the thickness of dough, and that this dough going through like roll gap like 1.5 millimeter, but like actual thickness is 1.9568, 2.1, 2.1, 2.1. So like there's a difference of 0.6 millimeter. So that's how like noodles, kind of bounce back, and then, well, it actually thickness actually uh, expands right after it's gone through the roller gap, it's dough, and so the actual thickness is always bigger than the roller gap roller quinoas. And it's the kind of kata we use, and then like kind of, well, the Slita kata, and then this particular kata is actually for aike ramen, like we talked about, like kind of reverse cut noodles, and so this kata is different in the way that like the grooves, like grooves are deeper than usual, and because aike ramen, like the thickness is larger, right? So we need to have like kind of deeper grooves to be able to like cut the cut the dough sheet through. So there's a special cutter for it. If you use this, well, if you use a regular cutter, then we wouldn't be able to like cut the aike ramen noodles through. They may get stuck right in the cutter. Okay, so we're ready to go. That's number 18. It's number 18. So number 18 is like 1.7 millimeter in width. 1.7 millimeter in width, and the thickness is about like 1.1, 1.0, 1 point, sorry, 1.5, 1.6. Okay, cool. And well, in this machine, like you can adjust the length of the noodles, right? Length of noodles, and so this length of noodles determines the your portion size, serving size, right? So if you want to have like bigger serving size, you want to make it longer, you want to make them longer. If you want to have like shorter, I mean smaller serving size, like you want to make them shorter. It's very easy, like just a touch of a knob, and it's very easy. Yeah, Short ramen, like usually the serving size would be like 120 grams or like 130 grams, but it really depends on the ramen shop that you're eating at, and of course they have like some service like they can give you like one portion noodle like free or an additional portion of noodles free or some or because like the cost of like making just one portion noodle is very low, and so compared to like other things, so it kind of makes sense for them to give them free portion noodles to make customers happy. And so let's move to our kitchen where we cook them. Right, so this is our showroom, and it's our kitchen, and we've got we've got some soup, we got some noodles, and so yesterday I made some noodles and for Shoyu Ramen, and then like uh, so like this is like 2.5 millimeter like width, right? And then but like it's kind of flat noodles, and then um, so I um, so the Kitakata ramen that we are talking about, like in Shiraka ramen, we are talking about like they actually um, do them by hand, right? Like like curl them by hand, right? So for example, like just kind of you have to like put some actual force in your hands, right, to make it like that. And so kind of make him curly like by hand, like kind of give you guys like kind of randomness, right? Well, curliness, randomness. But like this one is made using the kata, right? We use the kata, so as you may be able to see that like the curliness, right? It's kind of like well, there's a pattern, right? Like kind of same pattern, but like if you call them by hand, then the curliness is kind of random, so like kind of uses kind of like unique texture. Yeah, so that's the kind of difference between doing by machine and doing by hand. Okay, right, so let's cook some noodles. And okay, which one do we want to cook? Let's cook the one that me just made, and let's cook the ones that are I made like yesterday, and like this thick curry noodle by hand. Okay, let's get started, and let's do that one with the one I cooked yesterday. I mean that I made yesterday. Right, soえ大体でいい。うん。So that cooking time kind of varies, right? From like kind of depending on the preference of the customers as well. Usually we do it from scratch, but like today we're just doing it like just to show you guys how to cook noodles and like put them. So this soup, right, for example, like that's um, that has everything, right? Like tare and stock, and then yeah, the oil already in there. So everything in there, and so like kind of light soy sauce, like shoyu, like we were talking about in the class, I mean before. And this one, right? This one is kind of uh, more like tonkotsu shoyu, and it's like kind of ieke kind of style um, soup. I guess that kind of, yeah. So kind of heavier and like shoyu, like tare, shoyu tare. So it kind of makes sense to couple this soup with the noodles like Igmi just made. So I put actually like for these noodles, I put a bit like pigment to make them like kind of bright yellow. So um, you can't really make noodles like with this yellow without using kind of pigment like or eggs, right? Well, eggs, well, they make them a little bit yellow, but like not as much as well, not as yellow as this noodles. So yeah, make sure like you strain the noodles like well so that you're not diluting the soup, right? With the water you get out of the cooking water. Yeah, and then after you put noodles in, like you want to well kind of make them straight and for the presentation. All right, so let's do the other one. And we are cooking the noodles like in this stock pot, right? Like it's not really how we cook noodles, ramen noodles especially. And yeah, there's like a proper noodle cooker, and that noodle cooker has like everything, like like strong power, like um, you can have like a faucet, right? Faucet to just add water, ideally hot water, little by little, and to sort of like keep the water, cooking water kind of clean, and then it has like a drainage, right? Drainage overflow. So like when like like when you cook noodles and like you cook more and more noodles, like the water gets dirty, right? Dirty with like calcium and salt and everything. And then the effectiveness of like efficiency of the cooking noodles, right, cooking water, as like kind of diminishes like over time, right? So we want to like keep the water clean as much as possible, and so that the the effectiveness, like kind of I'm talking about like time it takes to cook noodles. So is improved. Like so you want to have like a noodle cooker that just has a faucet, right, water supply, and the drainage, right, drainage to kind of overflow the dirty water, and then like drain it out, and then but add the clean water, right, at the same time. So and then you should have like the power, right, to when you add water, and then like of course like temperature drops, right? So but you want to like keep the temperature as high as possible all the time. So so you want those three things: um, the faucet, like water supply, drainage, and then the power, right? Strong power of like cooking the heating the water back up like as quickly as possible. So okay, so cooking. Uh, so that's kind of like IK ramen noodles, but like some of them are actually curly and but like definitely kind of reverse cut noodles. So It's very different. Right. So yeah, we have like other types like noodles. We made for like shoyu ramen, but um, yeah, but you guys can try them and then try making them, and then like if you are interested in like making all these different types of noodles, like feel free to leave on comments, and then like yeah, we can give you guys some hints, and like we can talk about. Well, if you are already making ramen, right, and then well, I'm making like I have this kind of like shoyu soup, right, and then we can give you guys like kind of advice like on okay, what kind of, well, yeah, this kind of noodle may be like great for your shoyu ramen.